I'm beginning to love the Goldwing, and it takes a bit of getting used to, as I think I explained before. But I found a couple of problems that I'm trying to find a way out of. One of them is planning routes, but I'm going to come back to that later on another video, because I think I've cracked that now. But it's not easy. But the one issue I have found is that Apple CarPlay is very, very good. The fact that you can display on the Honda navigation system everything in your phone, all the apps, Google Maps, Apple Maps, whatever you need to see that's on your phone is displayed on the Honda Goldwing navigation system. That is brilliant. It's because there's a little cubby hole in the front of the Honda for which there is a USB port, and that connects, which I'll make a subject of another video because that wasn't easy either until you know what you're doing, and I had no idea. But that connects to the bike. However, there's a warning in the handbook that this cubby hole is above the engine, so it can get warm. So they give you a piece of insulation, which, let me just take it out. Here it is here. It's a molded, glued together piece of insulation that your phone, I've got an iPhone 12, the small one, that fits into and plugs in. And that is to insulate it from the heat of the engine. But to me, that is likely to make it even hotter. It's like the insulation you have in your attic. It's making it really warm. Well, that's just my idea. But on the first trip I made up, when I got it from the dealers in Stratford, I plugged my phone in just to charge it. I didn't know how to use Apple CarPlay or anything like that. But when I got home and I took my phone out, boy, it was hot. And this was quite a miserable day. It was seriously hot, the phone. I thought, wow. So since then, I've used Apple CarPlay, so I plug it in, and it's now a very important part of my following a route. But last week we went out on a particularly hot day for Britain. It reached almost 29 C in a few places. And suddenly I got this warning, which I'll show you now, on the Honda dashboard. The phone is too hot. This is quite worrying, because not only is it warning you something that isn't good, that your iPhone is now overheated, but it cuts off all your route map. If you're using Apple CarPlay, there's nothing to see until you can cool that phone down. And unfortunately, when it first happened, we were just pulling into a marina and we had a coffee and it was okay. But before the next stop, less than an hour later, it happened again. And I was just riding blind. It was a part of the country I didn't know. I had no guidance. I didn't know how long it would take to stop to cool the phone down. And I thought that there's got to be a better way for this. Now, I see that some, especially in the States, are putting fans into this little cubby hole. But I can't see that working. You're just circulating very, very hot air. And maybe it's only because it was a hot day, but 29 degrees isn't the Nevada desert, is it? So I've got this idea of returning to what I've always had, and that's a phone on the handlebars, so I can see it. It cools down, and I think you can do it with this. So let me just show you this cubby hole first. This is the cubby hole. When it's closed, it's very neat. And inside, you can see it is the USB port. And in here is the insulating foam. And the foam goes in there with a small connection. This is clearly above the engine, but it just gets very, very hot, and on a hot day even hotter. But I think I could drill a hole in this cabinet to get a cable out and bring it up. What I intend to do is mount my iPhone on this RAM mount that I make, and I've sent hundreds of these around the world simply for BMWs, but actually the screws on top of a brake reservoir seem to be a universal 4mm. So the one I make for the BMW fits the Goldwing perfectly and probably fits most other bikes. On the BMW there are 4mm bolts. On the Goldwing there's only one, but it doesn't matter. This nips up quite tight. Then I can mount an extension arm from RAM with the RAM, which I've had for a long time, X-grip, which holds the phone. And when I first bought this, I thought, oh, is it going to seriously hold a very expensive iPhone at whatever speed you're doing? But believe me, it does. It doesn't move from this. And of course, when you stop, it's so quick to be able to take it out. Now, not only does it mean that I can actually see the iPhone sometimes with any routing on it, it's also going to cool it down. I've never had issues in quite a few years. I've been using this on BMW bikes. I've ever, even in the hottest summers and in Europe and wherever I'm riding, of the phone overheating in the way you saw it on that clip just now. So if I can get a cable to this, then I might have answered the problem, and it would be a lot easier than fitting a fan, which I can't see how it would be effective, but anyway, than fitting a fan in here. So how do I get a hole through and be able to accomplish this? I've ordered a new Apple cable. Now, if you watch any of the YouTube series on connecting Apple CarPlay, they always say, and I took it with a pinch of salt, they always say use an official Apple cable. And the first few times I went out, I didn't. I used, an Amazon one, £3 or £4, and it kept failing. It kept dropping the connection to Apple. So I tried an Apple one. I can't believe it, but it just worked every time. So I've ordered this stupidly expensive 1 meter charging cable from Apple themselves, which has just arrived. It took a while. And I need to get this from this compartment right up to the telephone. So the first thing I'm doing is measuring the size of the charging port, which is the one that has to go through. And you notice it's quite big, you see. It's 11mm. So I should have a 12mm drill. But there's a problem there. Let me show you. I bought this 90-degree little tool, which is £15 in this country, or £14 something, because I cannot get a drill into that cubby hole, of course. It doesn't end there, because these parts, these 90-degree parts, are hex fitted, so that just goes in like that. This one is, I think, 6.5mm. It's the largest I can buy at that length. As soon as I go to 12mm, I can't get that into the cubby hole. So I'm a little bit of a loss. I need this right angle to be able to get in there, but I can't have more than 80mm in the size of the drill bit itself. So I'm going to have to drill with this 6mm and then use it to open out the hole to get that cable through, if all that makes sense. this 90-degree part fits into any normal drill. So this, you can see now, goes in there, but only just. And I've marked a little position where it goes through the wall. And that's it through. It's only plastic, of course. That's it through and out on the inside, which I can feel. But the hole is only half the size. So my idea, I don't know whether this is going to work, is to enlarge the hole to take the cable. Well, there's bits coming off. I'm going to have to keep testing to see whether the cable no, not yet. Bit by bit, I think, is the key. Yep, it's gone straight through and it comes out here. I'm just going to clean all the plastic out. Now this will connect to this end, of course. It can stay connected like that. And I've got to pull the cable through. And then the spare cable can feed back through into this. So the question is, this cable now has to run under this bodywork here. And I really don't want to take this off. And to be able to bring it up to the phone just there. Well, I've noticed that this piece of plastic here has two bolts, one there, and you can't see that one till they're turned. So if you can just see the Phillips screw there, and it disappears as soon as you put your handlebars straight. So you've got to bring the handlebars to full lock, screwdriver in there, and it undoes. It's only a plastic capping, so it may give me enough room to run the cable in below it. Then I need a magnet. There it is, just a little bolt. I'll do the same with the other side. Of course, I've got to swing the handlebars to the other position. So now I should be able to, yeah, look, you can move it enough without stripping everything off. So I need to feed the cable. Now that this is slightly loose, up under there, and find a way out at the top. Maybe easier said than done. Unless I can do it this way. Oh yeah, you can, look. Do it that way. That clicks back into position. So now you have to put the cable in position, of course, and make sure when you go from lock to lock, there's no interference, and then you can run it correctly. Now cable tie it along the other cables and the pipes that are there, and that it's neat, and just keep checking that you have no strain when you turn the handlebars. The cover can now be screwed down, those two Phillips bolts, and it fits so neatly. It's quite amazing, really. Now with it connected up, turn the ignition on, and I'm hoping I can see that the phone is charging, because if it's charging, of course, everything is working right. So by turning it on, we can see. You may have difficulty in seeing this if you're watching it on a small screen, but top right hand corner on an iPhone, you can tell if it's charging, and I'm quite amazed it is. It's actually working. So this cable is well hidden out of the way. Tomorrow I'm going on a 200-mile ride. This will be the test. Whether there's any overheating and whether it works, I'll let you know.